The music dropped, the lights rose, and the dance circle opened wide like a spotlight hungry for a star. Amara Johnson stood at the center in a flowing white gown that glimmered like fresh palm wine under the chandeliers of the Lagos Atlanta Cultural Exchange Gala. Cameras floated on gimbals. Guests clapped in rhythm. A talking drum called her name without words. Amara twirled once, laughing, shy but proud. She had spent 2 months saving to rent that gown. Her cousin Nia had pinned the hem just so, and her friend Jade had said, "Go shine." Amara wanted to shine. She wanted this gala, full of business leaders and foundation donors, to see her as more than a girl from a small apartment in Maryland who had flown to Lagos chasing a scholarship and a chance. The circle cheered louder. She swayed, then froze. A warm trickle slid where no one could see, until they could. The white turned darker at the back, blooming a red stain like a rose opening in a rush. It spread at the curve below her waist. The camera gasped. So did the crowd. For one stunned second, the hall went silent. Then came the sound that has followed many girls through school hallways and church pews. Sharp laughter, sharper whispers. "Look, look," someone hissed. "Oh no," someone else said, but the tone made no into a joke. Vivian, a woman in a gold dress with a voice that carried, tilted her head with playful pity. "A white gown, baby? You didn't check yourself?" 2 other ladies with her, Kemi and Rochelle, covered their smiles like fans. Amara's breath gathered in her chest and did not know where to go. She reached back with her palm, felt the wet, and wanted to fall through the marble floor and keep falling. She turned to flee, but the circle that had welcomed her pressed in, curious, unkind, unsure. "Give her a scarf," someone muttered. "Stop filming," said another while still filming. The MC tried to regain the room. "Let's clap for our brave dancer." But the clapping was confusion pretending to be kindness. Tears rose hot in Amara's eyes. "Not here. Not like this." Her mother's words came back from a kitchen in Prince George's County. "When shame knocks, lift your chin. Shame cannot climb." Her chin lifted, but her hands shook. The world tilted. That was the moment he stepped from the edge of the crowd like a second spotlight. Malik Okoro, 26, Lagos-born and Atlanta-raised, the youngest tech billionaire the gala could not stop discussing. Slim, neat haircut, tuxedo fitted like a promise. A silver lapel pin shaped like a small talking drum. The rumor was he had flown in that morning to pledge a new fund for girls in STEM and storytelling. People said he was cute like a movie star and quick like a chess player. People said many things. Malik didn't look around to see who was watching. He shrugged off his tuxedo jacket in a single smooth move and slipped it around Amara's shoulders from behind, covering the stain with dark, rich fabric. The jacket smelled faintly of clean citrus and rain. "Walk with me," he said in a voice pitched for her alone, and then louder for the room, cheerful, easy, like nothing was wrong at all. "Our star has conquered the floor. Give her air." He guided her forward, not dragging, not hiding, just moving as if escorting a queen from a crown ceremony. Some people clapped again, this time for him. Others, like Vivian, whispered with narrowed eyes. "Ah. So this is her plan," Vivian said, and Rochelle nodded, tastefully scandalized. They passed the cameras. Malik's assistant, a man with a tablet and a gentle face, stepped into the frame and lifted a hand. "Privacy, please." A security woman with braids formed a soft wall, steering them out of the circle. Amara moved like her feet were learning the floor again. "Thank you," she whispered, throat tight. "I didn't know it would come. It wasn't due." "You don't owe me a story," Malik said. "But I have one for you. In middle school, my friend Naya bled through her jeans. Every boy laughed. I fought 2 of them. My mother told me, 'Your fists are too slow. Next time, move the room.'" He smiled like the memory still taught him something. "Tonight, we move the room." He draped the jacket more snugly, adjusting it like a tailor. His assistant handed him a deep blue shawl, the kind used by servers in cold ballrooms. Malik wrapped it around Amara's waist with calm hands, keeping his eyes exactly where they should be. He nodded to the security woman, who angled them toward a side hallway lined with framed photos of past gala honorees. "Let me get you a restroom," the security woman offered. Amara swallowed. "Please." They reached the door marked ladies. Malik paused at the threshold, respectful. "There are pads in the emergency kit. Naya taught my mother to keep one in every cupboard." He smiled again, small and real. "I'll be here." Inside the powder room, the wide mirror held Amara and all her feelings at once. A matronly attendant in a galley took one look, clicked her tongue with sympathy and moved like a nurse. "My dear, we see everything in this world," she said, guiding Amara into a private stall. Today it is you, tomorrow it is another. This is life. Hold your head. There were pads in a wicker basket. Amara cleaned herself with shaking hands, secured a pad and whispered, "Thank you, God," the way her grandmother taught her to give thanks in every storm. When she stepped out, the attendant had a small bottle of stain remover, cool water, and a hemline-safe pin. They worked together, rinsing and blotting, the woman making soft jokes until Amara's breath returned to normal. When she emerged into the hallway again, Malik was exactly where he had promised to be, leaning against the wall like he had all the time in the world. The jacket still warmed her shoulders. She felt small and seen, embarrassed and strangely stronger. "I can go," she said. "I should slip out the back." He shook his head. "No. You came to be seen for your brilliance, not your biology. Also, I borrowed my jacket back from the photographers. If you run, who will return it to me?" She almost laughed, a bubble she hadn't expected. "You can keep it," she said, then corrected herself, cheeks hot. "I mean, I can keep it." "Then we should negotiate terms," he said, playful but gentle. "Walk with me a little. We'll go slow." They moved along the photo wall. Here, pictures of women whose names Amara knew from news articles. Founders, surgeons, poets, coders. The plaque under the next photo carried a name she had been saying under her breath since arriving in Lagos. Amina George Foundation, this gala's main sponsor and her dream scholarship. The finalists would be announced tonight. Malik noticed where she was looking. "You applied." "Yes," Amara said. "I'm a storyteller. I build audio tales for kids and teens. Stories with code behind them, interactive endings, choose your own paths. I want to make them free for schools. I told myself if I could stand in that hall, maybe someone would hear me." "They will," he said simply. "And if they don't, they were not listening." Behind them, the music swelled again. The MC's voice rolled like a drum beat, dragging the room back to its program. "Ladies and gentlemen, settle, settle. We continue." Vivian's laughter floated from somewhere near the stage, bright as a flare. "So dramatic," she said to her friends. "All that for a stain. My goodness." Malik's eyes flicked toward the sound, then returned to Amara with steady focus. "I'm going to step back in and say something," he said. "Not about you. About us. About the way we act when people have human moments." "You don't have to," Amara said quickly. "I want to," he answered. "My mother's rule." Amara searched his face. There was no hunger there, no fame game, no showmanship she could see. Just intention. "Okay," she said. "But my name stays with me." "Your name is your crown," he agreed. They returned to the edge of the ballroom. The chandeliers glowed like city sunsets. The crowd had thinned a bit around the dance floor, now reset for a speech. The MC spotted Malik and beamed. "Ah, our young lion is back." Malik lifted a hand. "1 minute," he said, then to Amara, soft enough that the drums did not steal the words, "I'll be careful." He stepped onto the low stage, spoke briefly to the MC and took the microphone. The room hushed the way rooms do when money speaks, but his first sentence dissolved all that stiffness. "Family," he began, "can we agree that no one should be shamed for being human? Not for stumbling on a dance step, not for stuttering on a word, and not for the natural rhythms of a body that gives life." A murmur rose, uneasy, thoughtful, grateful. The attendant from the powder room clapped twice. In the back, a young server exhaled like someone had opened a window. "I grew up with aunties who told me, use your mouth to fix what your hands cannot. So I am using mine. If you ever feel small in a room like this, know someone will stand with you. If you see someone stumble, be the stander, not the stone." It was not a long speech, but it shifted the air. Some faces softened. A few embarrassed eyes dropped. Vivian looked annoyed, as if a joke had been stolen from her. Amara stood under the balcony, wrapped in the jacket and shawl, feeling like she had been lifted from a deep water she didn't know how to swim. The security woman nodded to her, an ally's quiet salute. Then the MC took back the microphone with a grin too big to hold. "And now, a surprise we have kept under lock and key. Something special for tonight. Our honored guest, Mr. Malik Okoro, has asked to share a personal announcement with the world. An announcement that will change the story of this evening." A ripple ran through the crowd. Phones rose like a small forest. Malik blinked once, surprised. He started, but the MC powered on, delighted at his own drama. "Ladies and gentlemen," he sang out, "prepare your hearts. Because in exactly 1 minute, right here, Mr. Okoro will make a proposal." Gasp. Rustles. Vivian's hand flew to her mouth, eyes shining as if she alone knew a secret. Rochelle squealed under her breath. Kemi squeezed Vivian's arm. Amara felt the room wobble again. Proposal? To whom? Why now? Why here? Malik shot the MC a look that said he'd been ambushed by his own fame. Then his gaze found Amara across the floor, steady amid the sudden noise. He opened his mouth to speak. The house lights dimmed to a romantic glow. A string quartet stepped onto the stage. Anne Vivian, in her gold dress, started walking forward with a smile as wide as a headline, as if every step were already a yes. Vivian glided like a swan that had rehearsed for this lake. The gold of her dress caught every light and threw it back as if the room belonged to her. She reached the foot of the stage with chin high, fingers already brushing tears from the corners of her eyes, the kind of tears people practice in mirrors. Malik, she breathed, though the microphone was not hers. I knew you'd choose tonight. Malik didn't step back, didn't step forward. He let the MC's grin, the string quartet's hopeful tuning, and the collective inhale of 300 guests hang in the air like a lifted drumstick that had not yet struck. Family, he said again, voice steady, I asked to make an announcement, yes. A proposal, but not the kind you're imagining. A ripple of confusion. The quartet's leader coughed into his sleeve. The MC's smile faltered half an inch. Vivian's eyes narrowed, the way eyes do when a script forgets its lines. Not that kind, she repeated, trying to keep the sweetness. But we never, Malik said gently, had an agreement to make a spectacle of our private talks. A few cameras lowered. He turned to the crowd. My proposal is for a partnership between communities. I'm launching the Amara Okoro Fellowship with seed funding for 50 young creatives and coders, girls and boys, women and men, across Lagos, Atlanta, and Baltimore. I want stories built with code, apps powered by empathy, classrooms wired with imagination. That's the proposal. He let it land. For a heartbeat, only the chandeliers answered, glittering without sound. Then the applause started, first at the far right where a group of university students stood, then at the back where servers in black bowed their heads and clapped, then as a rolling wave across the floor. Genuine, relieved, proud. The string quartet adjusted mid-bow and found a triumphant refrain. The MC, recovering his showman's balance, shouted, History in the making. Vivian held her smile like a mask that had turned too tight. She recovered fast, she always did, pivoted to the crowd and clapped with careful grace. But the gold around her looked less like a crown now and more like armor. Rochelle leaned in to whisper. Kemi's mouth was a straight line. Under the balcony, Amara exhaled a breath she did not know she was holding. Her knees steadied. The jacket on her shoulders felt like a shield she could carry. The MC lifted his palm. And as fate would have it, he boomed, the Amina George Foundation Scholarship finalists are right here in this room. In fact, our selection committee just made their picks. He gestured to a panel of women and men near the stage. Before midnight, we'll call the 5 names. The hall vibrated with new energy. Ambition replaced gossip. Hope flushed the room's cheeks. Malik handed the microphone back and stepped off the stage into a tide of handshakes, congratulations and congratulations disguised as requests. Donors wanted to add zeros. Journalists wanted quotes. Old classmates wanted to become new partners. Through it all, he scanned for the white gown under a dark jacket. Amara saw him looking and took one careful step forward, then another. She did not want to be the story, yet she wanted to thank the man who had nudged the night away from cruelty. The powder room attendant, Auntie Saad, she had learned, appeared at her elbow with a conspiratorial smile. Walk like pepper soup, gentle but with heat, Auntie Saad advised, then melted back into the crowd as if she had a map of every person's need. Miss, a voice said from behind Amara. She turned. The security woman with braids, name tag reading Adiz, nodded toward a quieter walkway past the bar. If you want to reach him without the cameras, 2 minutes that way. Thank you, Amara said. She slipped through a small path between tables, past a mural of Lagos from above, third mainland bridge like a silver ribbon over dark water, and reached a side corridor lined with potted palms. There, the noise softened as if someone had put a hand over the room's mouth. She inhaled the calmer air and waited. Footsteps. Malik rounded the corner, tie pulled loose as if he'd remembered to breathe. The assistant with the tablet lingered a respectful distance away. I owe you, Amara said before nerves stole the words. Not just for the jacket. For moving the room. He shook his head. You owe me nothing. But if you want, you can save me from a few microphones. She smiled despite herself. I can lend you the jacket as camouflage. Dangerous, he said. People will think I've joined the smart crowd. They stood in a small pocket of quiet while big things happened in the hall. A banner in the corridor announced the evening's theme in clean serif letters. Bridges across the Atlantic. It seemed to watch them with calm approval. Amara Johnson, she said, offering a hand. Prince George's County by way of Owerri and Atlanta summers at my Auntie Tola's. I build audio stories for kids. He took her hand. Malik Okoro. Surrealer by way of College Park, Georgia. I build software that pretends to be useful until nonprofit leaders make it actually useful. She laughed, the sound coming easier now. I liked what you said about classrooms wired with imagination. I meant it, he replied. What you told me in the hallway, stories with code behind them, that's exactly the kind of thing we want to fund. If you're open to it, I'd love to hear more after this room stops spinning. Amara nodded, feeling the strange mix of gratitude and suspicion that comes when life opens a door too quickly. People promise many things in gala corridors. She had a list of promises that later forgot her number. I don't collect dreams I can't keep, he said, reading her caution. My mother runs our family scholarship office. If I make a note, she calls. He typed something into his phone, then glanced up. Spelling of your last name? She spelled it. He repeated it back. His assistant quietly snapped a photo of the banner instead of them, then attached a note and set a reminder. Tell me your story's beginning, Malik said. Not the elevator pitch, the seed. Amara looked at the potted palms, the way their leaves made shadows like lace on the wall. When I was 12, she said, my little brother Chuka had asthma so bad the hospital felt like our second home. The ER waiting room was always loud and scary for him, so I made up stories. I learned to time the chapters with his inhaler, breathe in on a cliffhanger, breathe out on the answer. When we left the hospital, I kept recording the stories on my Andy's old phone and passed them around the neighborhood. Kids would send me voice notes choosing the endings. I thought, what if the story could listen back and bend? What if the classes at school could be like that? Malik's face warmed with the caught-a-spark look of a builder. So you learned to code to make the story bend. Badly at first, she said, smiling. Then better with YouTube at 2 a.m. and forums where strangers fixed my mistakes. He tapped his chest lightly. I know those forums. From the hall, the MC's voice rose again. Ladies and gentlemen, a brief interlude while our judges finalize the Amina finalists. Please enjoy the suya and small chops. Vivian's laugh drifted through the corridor like perfume, followed by Rochelle's, girl, it's fine. Pivot. The cameras still love you. Kemi, but did he just school the whole room on being human? Deceit, bold. Amara's stomach dipped. She wasn't afraid of Vivian exactly, but she knew the look Vivian had given her, like a measuring tape that already knew its number. Girls from small apartments knew that look. It said, you don't belong here unless I say so. Malik noticed her shoulders tighten. She doesn't get the last word, he said. She doesn't have to, Amara replied. She just needs the first 10 loud. He tilted his head, thoughtful. Then we speak in actions. A young intern hustled down the corridor with a clipboard and an expression of news. She almost sprinted past, then recognized Malik and dipped into a clumsy curtsy that made all three of them smile. Sir, Mr. Okoro, the committee asked if you'd join them for 5 minutes. Of course, Malik said. He looked at Amara. If you go back into the hall, Auntie Saad will guard you with her life. I already told her so, Auntie Saad said, appearing again like a conjurer, a plate of puff-puff in hand. Here. Sugar makes the heart stand up. Amara took one warm and sweet and managed a real laugh. Thank you. Malik started to step away, then paused. Will you stay? He asked, and the question was simple but not small. I'll stay, she said. He nodded once, then turned toward the committee room down the short corridor. His assistant followed, tablet at the ready. Amara leaned against the cool wall and breathed. She thought of her mother's voice notes across the ocean. Baby, courage is not the absence of heat, it's learning to cook with it. She thought of Chuka, now 15 and taller than her, texting earlier, send me photos of your big lady gala. She thought of the scholarship, the fellowship, the room she could feel reshaping around her like wet clay. Vivian's heels clicked into the corridor, gold like a warning. Rochelle and Kemi flanked her, the kind of entourage that made space by existing. They slowed when they saw Amara, took in the jacket on her shoulders, the shawl at her waist, the plate in her hand. Well, Vivian said, smiling with only half her mouth. You've had quite a night for a guest. Everyone is a guest somewhere, Amara answered, steady. Good evening. Rochelle glanced at Vivian, impressed by the answer she hadn't expected. Kemi's eyes softened a fraction, as if she wasn't always sure what team she played for. Vivian's voice sweetened. Enjoy it, she said, leaning close enough for only Amara to hear. Because rooms like this don't have long memories for charity cases. Cameras move on. People do too. Auntie Sod materialized between them like a referee. Madame Gold, she said lightly, there is pepper in your words. Save it for the stew. Vivian's smile sharpened, but before she could reply, the corridor door at the far end flew open. The MC himself stuck his head out, cheeks flushed with the pleasure of announcements. They're ready, he called. The committee is ready. Gather please. The crowd surged toward the stage again. The quartet snapped to attention. The chandeliers turned up, scattering light like applause. Amara slipped back to her spot under the balcony, shoulders squared. Adiz gave her a thumbs up so brief it could have been a blink. Auntie Sod squeezed her elbow. Vivian relocated to the front center aisle, gold blazing, chin defiant. The MC lifted a sealed envelope. My people, he boomed, tonight we celebrate 5 bright minds whose work will change the way our children learn. And thanks to a certain generous proposal, each winner will receive not just a scholarship, but a fellowship seed grant. A hush. You could hear someone's bangles clink. In no particular order, he said, sliding out a card, our first finalist is Kweku Mensa of Baltimore for Street Science Stories. A roar from the left. A young man with glasses stumbled up, stunned and grinning. Our second finalist, he stretched the moment like sugar pulling into fine threads. Cameras leaned. Is. The house lights flickered. A second microphone crackled to life. And an unfamiliar voice, smooth, practiced, edged with delight, filled the speakers from somewhere in the hall. Before you read the next name, MC, I think the room deserves to know who really helped our young lady in white, and why. Every head turned. The voice belonged to a man stepping from the shadows near the donor tables, phone in hand, live stream already climbing with comments. He wore a navy suit and a smile that expected trouble to clap for him. Vivian's eyes lit with a fire that wasn't kindness. Malik, re-entering from the committee room, went very, very still. And Amara felt the floor shift, as if the night had decided one humiliation was not enough. The hall froze. Every spotlight, every curious face, every smartphone camera turned toward the man in the navy suit. His phone screen glowed red, live, as thousands of digital viewers began flooding into the stream. Good evening everyone, the man said smoothly, panning the camera across the crowd. This is Raymond Cole, lifestyle vlogger and truth-teller extraordinaire. And tonight, we're witnessing the real story behind this so-called billionaire's act of kindness. The crowd murmured. The MC stuttered into the microphone, Sir, this is a private. Raymond raised a palm, cutting him off. Private? My people, when you make a public spectacle to play hero at a high society event, it's public. His camera swung toward Amara. There she is, our Cinderella of the stain. The girl who caught the billionaire's attention the moment her white gown turned red. Coincidence? Or was it all staged? A collective gasp. Phones came out. Malik stepped forward, his jaw tightening. Turn off that stream, Raymond. Oh, I bet you'd like that, Raymond replied, voice still syrup smooth. But the internet deserves truth. You're Malik Okoro, right? The man who just announced a fellowship for creative girls? How convenient that one beautiful, conveniently distressed woman ends up wearing your jacket the same night you make that speech. Looks like a marketing stunt to me. A ripple of whispers crossed the crowd. Amara's heart pounded. Her hands trembled, but she stood her ground. That's not true. I didn't even know who he was until he helped me. Raymond's grin widened, predatory. Of course you'd say that. But let's check something. He tapped on his phone. Viewers, this girl's name is Amara Johnson. She's been applying for the Amina George Foundation scholarship for months. You think maybe she figured out a shortcut? The words hit like blows. Malik's voice deepened, calm but dangerous. You're attacking a woman for bleeding in public, Raymond? That's not journalism, it's cruelty. Oh, I'm not attacking, Raymond said. I'm revealing. This gala is supposed to be about transparency, right? So why not some for your billionaire fairy tale? Before anyone could respond, Vivian's voice cut through the tension. Sharp, melodic, dripping with satisfaction. Maybe he's right. I mean, it all looked a little too perfect. Girl embarrasses herself, billionaire swoops in. Cameras roll. Internet melts. Feels scripted. The crowd's focus shifted to her like moths to flame. Vivian lifted her chin, pretending innocence. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for her. But I've seen desperate women use worse tricks to catch attention. Sometimes pity can be more powerful than beauty. Gasps echoed. Someone muttered, that's too much. Amara's throat burned, her body trembling between shame and anger. She turned to Vivian, voice soft but steady. You think anyone chooses humiliation? You think any woman wants to bleed in front of hundreds of people? The question sliced through the air. Even Raymond paused. I didn't come here for attention, Amara continued, her voice rising. I came here for opportunity. I wore white because I believed I deserved to shine, not to be mocked or accused. She faced the crowd, voice trembling but powerful. If bleeding makes me weak, then what does mocking make you? The hall went silent. The sound of her words filled every corner like a heartbeat. Malik stepped beside her. Enough, he said firmly, addressing the entire room. We live in a world where a woman's natural body becomes entertainment for the shallow. Not tonight. He turned to Raymond. Delete that stream before I have my lawyers dismantle your channel. Raymond chuckled nervously. You wouldn't? Try me, Malik interrupted. Raymond's smirk faltered as security began to close in. Adiz, the security officer with braids, motioned subtly and 2 guards approached. Sir, we'll need you to leave. This is suppression. Raymond shouted as he backed away. People have the right to know. The right to be kind comes first, Adiz said coldly, seizing his phone and lowering it. The stream went black. Applause broke out, soft at first, then stronger, then thunderous. Vivian, realizing the wind had changed direction, folded her arms and looked away, pretending she hadn't spoken. Malik turned to Amara. Are you okay? She nodded weakly, blinking back tears. I think so. Auntie Saad appeared beside her again, pressing a clean white napkin into her hand. Wipe your tears, Jer. The enemy of light is noise. But see, you are still shining. The MC, ever the opportunist, clutched the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for courage, for dignity, and for truth. The hall erupted once more. Amara tried to smile, but her chest still ached from the sting of humiliation. Malik leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. You handled that with grace. Most people would have broken down. I almost did, she admitted. But I remembered my mom. She always said, the only way to silence a crowd is to speak from your scars. He nodded, eyes warm. Then I hope you never stop speaking. As the applause died, the MC cleared his throat dramatically. Now, back to our finalists before we all faint from suspense. He reopened the envelope. Our second finalist is Amara Johnson. The hall exploded in cheers. Cameras flashed again, this time not with mockery but awe. Amara froze, unsure if she had heard right. Auntie Saad squealed, almost dropping her puff-puff plate. Malik grinned, clapping the loudest. You earned this, Amara, he whispered. You earned it. Vivian's smile tightened, eyes flashing. Rochelle murmured something into her ear, but Vivian's jaw clenched like a woman plotting her next move. Amara stepped forward slowly, feeling hundreds of eyes following her, but this time they weren't mocking. They were proud, inspired, curious. She climbed the short stage steps. The MC handed her a golden plaque embossed with her name and said, for creativity, courage, and innovation that turns pain into power. She took the microphone, voice trembling. Thank you. I didn't come here expecting to be noticed, especially not this way, but I'm grateful. If there's anything tonight taught me, it's that embarrassment fades faster than courage. The crowd roared with applause again. Malik's gaze met hers across the stage, proud and soft. But just as the applause reached its peak, a commotion erupted at the back of the hall. A woman's voice shouted, "Stop that thief!" Everyone turned. Raymond, somehow free from security, was dashing toward the exit. Malik's phone clutched in his hand. Malik's assistant yelled. He took confidential documents, plans for the fellowship. The crowd scattered as Raymond shoved past guests, sprinting for the door. Adiz lunged, barely missing him. Malik dashed after him, suit jacket flying, shouting, Raymond, don't do this. Amara's eyes widened in horror as the exit burst open, letting in the humid Lagos night and the blinding glare of headlights outside. Raymond bolted through the door. Malik followed. And then, there was the screech of brakes, a shout, and the unmistakable sound of impact. The hall fell into stunned silence. Amara dropped the plaque, her heart splitting open. Malik, she screamed, running toward the doors as the scene outside turned into chaos. Comment below where you're watching from and tell us, do you believe Malik truly risked his life for her out of love or just instinct? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so others can learn from it. The night outside the gala exploded into noise and confusion. Guests poured through the doors, heels clattering against marble, shouts rising like smoke. A white SUV had screeched to a halt in the middle of the road, its headlights glaring into the humid Lagos night. On the asphalt, Malik lay motionless. "Call an ambulance," someone yelled. "Call now." Amara pushed past the crowd, her heart hammering so hard she thought her chest would split. She dropped to her knees beside him, tears already spilling. "Malik. Malik, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered, unfocused. A streak of blood ran from his temple. His phone lay shattered beside him, screen blinking one last time before going dark. Adiz, the security officer, arrived seconds later, barking orders. "Clear the area. Give him air." She tore off her jacket, sliding it under Malik's head. Yes you, call St. Luke's emergency. Tell them it's an accident outside the Eco Convention Center. Move." Raymond stood a few feet away, trembling, face pale under the glare of headlights. His voice shook. I didn't mean he ran after me." Adiz's hand shot out like lightning, gripping his arm. "You stay right here," she hissed. "You're not going anywhere." The driver of the SUV stumbled out, horrified. "He just ran into the road. I swear I didn't see." Amara's tears blurred everything. "Please Malik, stay with me. Please." His lips moved faintly. "You're safe?" "Yes," she whispered, clutching his hand. "I'm fine. You're the one hurt." He smiled weakly, the kind of smile that comes when strength is slipping away but pride refuses to surrender. "Good. Then it was worth it." The ambulance siren wailed in the distance. The crowd parted as paramedics arrived, lifting Malik onto a stretcher. Blood stained his white shirt, an image too cruelly poetic for Amara to bear. As they loaded him into the ambulance, Adiz turned to her. "You should ride with him." Amara didn't hesitate. "I'm coming." She climbed into the ambulance, gripping Malik's hand as they sped into the night. The city lights blurred past and she prayed silently, the way her mother taught her. "God of the forgotten, please remember him now." At St. Luke's Hospital, chaos gave way to sterile calm. Nurses rushed Malik into emergency care. A doctor, tall, calm with tired eyes, turned to Amara. "Your family?" "Yes," she said quickly. "Please save him." He nodded. "We'll do everything we can." They wheeled Malik through the double doors, leaving Amara alone in the white corridor. For a long moment she couldn't breathe. The antiseptic smell, the cold metal benches, the hum of fluorescent lights, it all reminded her of those nights years ago when she'd sat beside her brother Chuka's hospital bed, counting heartbeats. Her hands shook. "Not again. Please not again." A soft hand touched her shoulder. Auntie Saad had followed her, her gelly now slightly askew. "My child," she said softly, "men who walk with courage often meet storms. But storms also pass." Amara broke down, sobbing into the older woman's chest. "He didn't deserve this. He just wanted to help." Auntie Saad stroked her hair gently. "The wicked's arrow always misses the heart of the pure. Watch and see." Adiz entered, face stern. "Police have Raymond in custody," she said. "He confessed he stole the phone and ran. Says he didn't mean for anyone to get hurt." Amara's voice cracked. "He almost killed him." Adiz sighed. "The law will handle him. You just pray." Amara nodded, tears still falling. Hours passed. The hospital clock ticked past midnight. The gala that had begun with glamour now ended in silence and prayer. At 1:30 a.m. the doctor emerged. "He's stable," he said. "Concussion, a few stitches but no internal bleeding. He'll wake soon." Amara gasped in relief, pressing her palms together. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you." "He was lucky," the doctor added. "Whoever that woman was who kept pressure on his wound in the ambulance, she saved him from losing too much blood." Amara blinked. "That was me." He smiled. "Then you might have saved his life." An hour later, Malik's eyelids fluttered open in the dim hospital room. Amara sat beside his bed, holding his hand. He blinked twice, then smiled faintly. "Still here?" She laughed softly, tears glistening again. "Where else would I go?" "You shouldn't see me like this," he murmured. "After everything tonight?" she said. "I think we've already passed that stage." He chuckled weakly. "Guess we have." They sat in silence for a while. The hum of the machines filled the room like quiet rain. Finally Malik said, "I saw you speak up tonight. You didn't let them shame you." "I learned from you," Amara replied. "You showed me that standing up for someone can change a whole room." His eyes softened. "Maybe you can change more than a room, Amara. Maybe you can change lives." She smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. Only if you promise not to run into cars next time. He laughed. A real laugh this time, tired but alive. Deal. By dawn, the hospital lobby was filled with reporters, fans, and curious onlookers. News headlines had already begun to spread. Billionaire tech CEO saves woman from public humiliation, injured in heroic chase. Gala drama turns to miracle, the woman in white speaks out. Vivian, scrolling through the headlines in her car, felt a twist of something she hadn't felt in years, regret. Or was it envy? Either way, she clenched her phone and whispered, "This isn't over." Meanwhile, at St. Luke's, Malik refused interviews. "No cameras," he told his assistant. "This story belongs to her." Amara sat by his bedside, watching the sunrise paint the walls gold. She thought about how quickly a life could twist, from shame to hope, from ridicule to gratitude. She whispered to him, thinking he was asleep, "You didn't just help me, Malik. You gave me back my voice." His eyes opened slightly. "And you gave me a reason to use mine." The next morning, Malik's mother arrived, a tall, regal woman in a navy wrapper, her presence commanding yet gentle. She took one look at Amara and smiled knowingly. "So," she said, "you're the one my son nearly died for." Amara stammered, I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "I know," the woman said softly. "But destiny rarely asks permission." She clasped Amara's hands. "Stay close to him. When a man risks his life for someone he just met, it means his soul has found its echo." Amara blushed deeply. Back at the gala venue later that week, a press conference was held to officially launch the Amara Okoro Fellowship. Malik stood at the podium, bandaged but smiling, with Amara seated beside him as a co-speaker. "This fellowship," Malik said to the cameras, "was born from a moment of pain and turned into purpose. And I want everyone watching to know, sometimes, what looks like embarrassment is just destiny in disguise." The audience erupted in applause. Amara took the microphone next. "Tonight, I want every young girl watching to remember this. Your worth isn't measured by what stains your clothes, but by what shines in your spirit." The applause doubled. Cameras flashed. And in the front row, Auntie Saad dabbed at her eyes with her wrapper. But as the celebration continued, someone in the crowd was watching closely. Vivian, her face hidden behind sunglasses, her phone camera recording. Her lips curved into a cold smile. "Enjoy your spotlight, Amara," she whispered. "Every light casts a shadow." 3 weeks later, the wound on Malik's head had healed to a faint line, but the scar left on his heart still pulsed quietly beneath his smile. He was back in Lagos for the official launch of the Amara Okoro Fellowship's pilot hub, a space lined with tablets, sound booths, and mural-bright walls painted by young artists. Cameras flashed, donors smiled, and children in uniforms sang a welcome song. Amara stood beside him, dressed in a simple Ankara gown patterned with red flowers. The white gown embarrassment now felt like a lifetime ago, though its memory still tugged at the corners of her mind when cameras lingered too long. The fellowship had named her one of its first coordinators. Her project, StorySeed, an interactive storytelling app for African classrooms, was now real. "Can you believe this?" Malik murmured as he cut the ribbon. "A month ago we were strangers at a gala." Amara laughed softly. "And now you're my boss." "Partner," he corrected, smiling. "You outrank me on creativity." The crowd applauded as the ribbon fell. Drums thumped, dancers spun. Children pressed forward to shake hands with the woman who turned shame into story. But near the back of the crowd, a gold dress glimmered again. Vivian watched from behind dark glasses, phone in hand, recording every angle. Her lips barely moved as she whispered into her Bluetooth earpiece. "You have what I sent you?" A man's voice answered quietly through the earpiece. "Yes, madam." The folder with the photos and the voice clip. "All edited like you asked." "Good," she said. "Drop it to the blogs tomorrow morning." Headline: Billionaire's Romance Built on Lies. Amara Johnson's leaked audio exposes her true intentions. The man hesitated. "But madam, if it's fake." "Do you want your money or not?" she snapped. "Just deliver." She ended the call and smiled. That evening, after the event, Amara and Malik sat by the lagoon at 5 Cowries Creek. The sunset smeared gold and purple across the water. Lagos traffic hummed in the distance, softened by the waves. "You didn't have to stay back," Amara said. "You've been up since dawn." Malik shrugged. "You kept me alive. The least I can do is keep you company." They shared quiet laughter, watching boats glide past like drifting lanterns. Then Malik's tone grew gentle. "You know, when I was lying on that hospital bed, I kept thinking about how fast people switch, from laughing at you to cheering for you. This world loves a story, but it doesn't always love truth. Amara nodded slowly. I know. That's why I tell stories that make people feel before they judge. He smiled. You've already changed how people see things. You gave that little girl from Maryland and Owerri a global voice. She looked at him. And you gave me a platform I never dreamed of. Their eyes met, warm, lingering, silent. But before anything else could be said, Malik's phone buzzed. His assistant's message flashed across the screen. Urgent. Rumor circulating online. Voice clip, leaked. Amara allegedly confessing to planning the gala incident. Trending already. #Gowngate. Malik's face tightened. What is this? Amara frowned. What voice clip? He pressed play. A distorted version of her voice played through the phone's speaker. Of course it was part of the plan. I had to make them notice me. The blood, the white dress, everything. That's how he finally saw me. Amara's hand flew to her mouth. That's not me. That's fake. I know, Malik said quickly, but the damage was already rippling online. Notifications exploded. #Gowngate. #billionaire. #fabricated love. In less than an hour, her name was being dragged across Twitter, TikTok, and gossip blogs from Lagos to Atlanta. The same cameras that had once praised her courage now dissected her every movement. Amara's voice trembled. They'll think I tricked you. That I. No, Malik said, gripping her hands. They'll think what I tell them to think. We'll fix this. But when his PR manager called minutes later, her tone was grim. Malik, this is serious. Sponsors are asking questions. The foundation's credibility is at risk. We need to release a statement tonight. Maybe distance yourself until it's verified. Amara's breath caught. Distance yourself? Malik's jaw clenched. No. Not happening. Malik, the manager urged through the phone, you can't gamble the foundation's future for one woman's scandal. I'm not gambling, he said coldly. I'm standing with the truth. He ended the call. Amara stared at the darkening water. This will destroy everything you built. He shook his head. Not everything. Not us. She looked away, tears threatening. You barely know me. Why risk it? Because I know enough, he said softly. And because people like Vivian Cole. He stopped mid-sentence. How did you? He pulled out his phone, scrolling. Vivian's account had just posted a caption under a clip of the edited audio. Some stories don't begin in love but in lies. Watch carefully before you applaud. Malik exhaled sharply. I should have known. Amara's voice trembled. Why is she doing this? He sighed. Because when some people lose your attention, they try to break whoever has it. The next morning, news outlets flooded with the story. Some headlines called it the white dress scandal. Others implied she'd used pity to climb into fame. Invitations to panels and sponsorships vanished overnight. Malik's board called an emergency meeting. Donors threatened to pause funding until the situation was clarified. Amara stayed inside her apartment, curtains drawn, phone buzzing non-stop. Hate messages poured in. Some women mocked, others defended, but all wanted drama. Her mother's call came late that night. My daughter, she said gently, the same sun that shines on a diamond also shines on dirt. You can't control what people see first. Just keep shining. Amara swallowed a sob. Mama, I didn't even do anything wrong. I know, her mother said softly. Truth has slow feet but strong bones. It always arrives. The following day, Malik showed up at her door unannounced, wearing a hoodie and dark glasses. We traced it, he said. The clip came from a fake account connected to Vivian's publicist. Amara's eyes widened. So she did it. She did, he confirmed. But she's smart. She used an intermediary so she can deny everything. So what now? He hesitated, then smiled faintly. Now we do what my mother taught me, don't fight dirt with dirt, fight it with daylight. That weekend, Malik scheduled a live press conference streamed on every major platform. The hall filled with reporters, influencers, and curious viewers. Malik stood at the podium, Amara by his side. He spoke clearly, calmly. 3 weeks ago the internet praised courage. Today it mocks it. That says more about us than about her. The leaked audio spreading online is fake, fabricated by someone who mistakes cruelty for cleverness. We have proof and we'll release it publicly. But more importantly, I want to remind everyone, when you see a woman shamed, ask who benefits from her silence. The hall erupted in applause. Amara took the microphone next, her voice steady. I've learned something from this storm. A lie travels fast, but truth walks. And though it may come late, it always arrives. Malik reached for her hand as cameras flashed, unbothered by gossip. Somewhere in the back, Vivian watched, her gold dress replaced by black. Her lips pressed thinly, her eyes hard. She turned and walked out before the applause ended. That night, as they left the conference hall, Malik looked at Amara. "I think the storm's passing." Amara smiled faintly. "Maybe. But even after the rain, the ground remembers." He nodded. "Then let's plant something good in it." She laughed quietly, feeling something warm rise in her chest. The scandal was dying, but the story between them was just beginning. And neither of them knew, the next chapter would test not just their bond, but their belief in second chances. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds of Malik's penthouse, spilling across the living room where Amara sat curled up on the sofa. She hadn't slept much. The storm outside had quieted, but inside her mind, thunder still rolled. News blogs were beginning to shift tone. Several had issued corrections, admitting that the audio appeared to be manipulated. A few bold outlets even published exposés tracing the forgery to Vivian's media contacts. But for every post retracting the lie, 10 more recycled the old headline. That was how the internet worked. Truth came limping after the drama had already sprinted miles ahead. Malik appeared from the kitchen carrying 2 mugs of tea. "Chamomile," he said. "Doctor's orders for anyone fighting the world." Amara smiled faintly. "I thought billionaires only drink coffee brewed with gold." "Only when pretending to impress other billionaires," he replied, handing her the mug. She took a slow sip, warmth spreading through her chest. "You didn't have to fight this hard for me." "I didn't fight for you," he said gently. "I fought with you." Big difference. Their eyes met, long enough for the silence to mean something. Then Malik's phone buzzed again. His assistant's message blinked across the screen. "Vivian just arrived at Amina Foundation headquarters demanding to speak to press. Says she has new evidence." "Should we block her?" Malik exhaled. "She never stops." Amara set down her mug. "Let me handle her." He blinked. "You?" "She came after me," Amara said quietly. "So let me end it. Publicly." At noon, the Foundation's media hall was packed again. Cameras, microphones, gossip columnists, all waiting for the next chapter of a drama they refused to let die. Vivian strutted to the podium, wrapped in her trademark gold. Her smile was dazzling but brittle, like glass in sunlight. "Good afternoon," she began, voice syrupy sweet. "I'm here to clear my name and to protect this foundation's integrity from deception." The reporters leaned forward. "Are you saying the scandal was real?" one asked. "I'm saying," Vivian continued, "that while I did not create the voice clip, I have messages, proof, that Amara Johnson knew how to use that night to her advantage. She told friends she'd wear white, to stand out. She said she wanted to meet a billionaire. Maybe it wasn't a setup, but it wasn't pure coincidence either." A buzz rippled through the hall. Cameras flashed. Just then a calm voice came from the doorway, "Then let's see the proof." Everyone turned. Amara entered with steady steps, dressed in a modest cream suit. Malik followed a few paces behind her, expression unreadable. Vivian froze, eyes flickering. "Oh, you're here." Amara walked up to the podium and faced her squarely. "Yes, I am. Because I'm tired of hiding from shadows." Vivian crossed her arms. "So you deny you wanted attention that night?" "I wanted opportunity," Amara said. "I wore white because I believed I deserved to be seen, not shamed. That night, my body betrayed me, but I refused to let humiliation define me. You called that manipulation. I call it survival." The hall went quiet. Amara continued, voice growing stronger. "You think I planned it? Then tell me, Vivian, what woman plans her own shame in front of hundreds? Who wants her body turned into gossip? You call me desperate. But the truth is, you envy courage you no longer have." Vivian's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone." "No," Amara said sharply. "You watch your reflection." She stepped closer. "You had every privilege. Beauty, influence, connections. But somewhere along the way you started believing power meant belittling others. You laugh at weakness because you fear becoming human again." A murmur swept through the audience. Malik stepped forward, placing a quiet hand on Amara's shoulder but saying nothing, letting her finish what she'd begun. Vivian's eyes glistened with a flash of anger, or maybe something sadder. "You think you're better than me because he chose you?" she hissed. Amara shook her head. "No. I think we could have been allies. 2 women breaking ceilings. But you turned it into a cage fight." For the first time, Vivian's composure cracked. Her eyes darted toward the cameras, realizing the story had flipped again, and she was now the villain. Malik spoke, his voice calm but firm. Vivian, you've hurt good people. You can still make it right. She opened her mouth then closed it. The gold around her shoulders suddenly looked heavy. Right doesn't sell clicks, she said bitterly and walked off the stage. Hours later, her PR team released an apology. She admitted her involvement in circulating the fake clip, blaming emotional stress and poor judgment. It was the kind of apology that saved careers but not respect. Public sympathy swung back to Amara. The foundation's page flooded with support. We stand with Amara. Every girl deserves dignity. The woman in white is our hero. But Amara stayed quiet through it all. She wasn't celebrating. That night, she sat by the balcony of Malik's penthouse again, watching the lights shimmer over the lagoon. Malik joined her with 2 cups of Zobo this time. You won, he said softly. Amara smiled faintly. No one wins in these things. We just heal. He studied her for a long moment. You really are different. I'm just tired, she said. Of fighting to prove I'm not a lie. Malik leaned against the railing. Then maybe it's time to stop proving and start living. She turned to him, curious. And what does living look like to you? He hesitated, then smiled slightly. It looks like partnership. Friendship. Maybe even, he stopped himself, chuckling. I'll let time define that. She laughed quietly. Careful, Mr. Okoro. The internet might ship us again. Let them, he said simply. For once they'd be right. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was soft, like music between 2 people who finally understood each other. The next morning, Malik's mother invited them both to her home for Sunday breakfast. It was a bright, airy place filled with framed art and laughter. As they ate akara and pap, she looked between them with a knowing smile. Do you two realize, she said, that God sometimes uses the most embarrassing moments to write the most beautiful beginnings? Amara blushed. Malik coughed into his tea. His mother laughed. Don't look so nervous. I'm just saying, sometimes shame is just destiny in disguise. By evening, headlines were different. Vivian Cole apologizes as fake clip confirmed. Amara Johnson appointed director of Storyseed program. From scandal to strength, the woman who inspired a generation. But as one chapter closed, another opened quietly. That night, Malik's assistant showed him an anonymous message sent to the foundation's email. The scandal wasn't all Vivian's doing. Someone bigger funded it. Be careful who you trust. Malik frowned. Bigger? The assistant nodded. No name attached. But the email came from a masked server traced to New York. He looked out the window at the skyline glittering over the lagoon. Then it's not over, he murmured. Inside, Amara's laughter drifted from the balcony, soft, unaware. Malik turned toward the sound, but his mind was already racing. Whoever was behind the fake story still wanted something. And this time it might not just be Amara's name they were after, it might be everything they'd built together. Let them, he said simply. For once they'd be right. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was soft, like music between 2 people who finally understood each other. The next morning, Malik's mother invited them both to her home for Sunday breakfast. It was a bright, airy place filled with framed art and laughter. As they ate akara and pap, she looked between them with a knowing smile. Do you two realize, she said, that God sometimes uses the most embarrassing moments to write the most beautiful beginnings? Amara blushed. Malik coughed into his tea. His mother laughed. Don't look so nervous. I'm just saying, sometimes shame is just destiny in disguise. By evening, headlines were different. Vivian Cole apologizes as fake clip confirmed. Amara Johnson appointed director of Storyseed program. From scandal to strength, the woman who inspired a generation. But as one chapter closed, another opened quietly. That night, Malik's assistant showed him an anonymous message sent to the foundation's email. The scandal wasn't all Vivian's doing. Someone bigger funded it. Be careful who you trust. Malik frowned. Bigger? The assistant nodded. No name attached. But the email came from a masked server traced to New York. He looked out the window at the skyline glittering over the lagoon. Then it's not over, he murmured. Inside, Amara's laughter drifted from the balcony, soft, unaware. Malik turned toward the sound, but his mind was already racing. Whoever was behind the fake story still wanted something. And this time it might not just be Amara's name they were after, it might be everything they'd built together. A week later, Lagos seemed to hum with quieter energy. The social media noise had finally died down. Amara's face was back on the fellowship's website, this time under the headline Resilience in Motion. But beneath the calm, something unseen was moving. Malik sat in his office overlooking the city, eyes fixed on his laptop. The anonymous email had replayed in his mind all week. The scandal wasn't all Vivian's doing. Someone bigger funded it. He'd forwarded it to his cybersecurity team, and their findings now glowed on his screen. The sender's trail led through layers of rerouted IP addresses, eventually bouncing off an offshore server in New York City, registered to a company that owned several online tabloids known for blackmailing public figures. But what caught Malik's attention most wasn't the company. It was the investor listed behind it. Tobias Cole, Vivian's older brother. He leaned back slowly, rubbing his temples. Of course, he whispered. She wasn't working alone. Across town, Amara was at the Story Seed office, surrounded by a cluster of young interns recording children's stories in English, Yoruba, and Igbo. Laughter filled the space. It was the first time she'd felt peace since the gala. Her phone buzzed. A text from Malik. We need to talk. Privately. No. The tone made her stomach tighten. Within an hour, they met in the quiet cafe beside the foundation's building. Malik's expression was grave. What is it? Amara asked. He slid his tablet toward her. The scandal, it wasn't just Vivian. She frowned, reading the screen. Tobias Cole. Vivian's brother? The real estate mogul in New York. He nodded. He funded the company that spread the fake audio. And I think I know why. Why? Because he's bidding for the same education tech contract that our fellowship just won in partnership with the Ministry of Youth Development, Malik said grimly. We embarrassed his sister and we outbid his investors. He hit back through her. Amara's breath caught. So this wasn't about jealousy, it was revenge and business. Exactly. What do we do? She asked quietly. Malik hesitated, his gaze softening. We tell the truth again. But this time we show proof before they twist it. He reached across the table. Amara, I need you to trust me completely. Can you? She met his eyes. After everything? Yes. That night, Malik organized a confidential meeting at his penthouse. Seated around the glass table were Adiz Anti-Saad and a new face, Chidi Nwosu, a digital forensics expert from Abuja. Chidi tapped his laptop keys, projecting an encrypted network map on the wall. Sir, the connection to Tobias Cole is solid. But there's more. He zoomed in. Someone inside the foundation's media team leaked internal footage of Amara and Malik to the same server 2 days before the fake audio dropped. Amara's brow furrowed. Someone inside our team? Yes, Chidi said. I traced it to one device, someone with media access clearance. He pressed another key. A profile photo appeared. Malik's jaw tightened. No. It was Jade, Amara's close friend and co-worker, the same friend who'd helped her prepare for the gala. Amara's voice broke. That can't be right. Jade. She was there for me through everything. I double-checked, Chidi said quietly. She uploaded raw footage from her camera and forwarded it to a contact in New York. Payment logs confirmed she received $20,000 through an offshore transfer last month. Amara slumped back, tears welling. She betrayed me. Malik reached for her hand. Sometimes betrayal wears a familiar face. The next morning, Jade was called in under the pretext of a press meeting. When she entered Malik's office and saw Chidi's laptop open, her face drained of color. Jade, Amara began softly, why? Jade looked away, lips trembling. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Tobias offered me money to share content. He said it was for a feature article. I didn't know he'd twisted into that mess. And when the fake clip came out, I panicked. I couldn't say anything. You watched me drown, Amara said, voice shaking. And said nothing. Tears streamed down Jade's cheeks. I thought you'd survive it. You always do. I was tired of being the one in your shadow. You were the scholarship girl, the hero, the viral saint. I just wanted my own light. Amara stared at her, heart breaking. Then you should have built your own lamp, Jade. Not tried to blow out mine. Silence. Malik dismissed the security guards. Jade, you'll sign a full confession and testify that Tobias paid you. No charges if you cooperate. Otherwise, the police will handle it. Jade nodded weakly, whispering, I'm sorry, Amara. Amara turned away, wiping her tears. Some apologies come too late. Within 48 hours, the story exploded again, but this time with truth. Exclusive, real culprits behind white gown scandal exposed. Business tycoon Tobias Cole under investigation for media manipulation. Amara Johnson and Malik Okoro cleared of all allegations. Tobias's empire trembled. Sponsors withdrew, clients cancelled. Vivian, who had been silent since her apology, issued another public statement, this time condemning her brother's actions. The internet that once mocked Amara now celebrated her again. But inside her heart, something deeper stirred, pain mixed with gratitude. When Malik came to see her that night, she met him at the door. "I don't know whether to celebrate or cry," she said softly. "Do both," he replied. "You've earned both." She smiled faintly. "You never gave up on me, Malik." He shook his head. "I gave up on a lot of things in life, but not you." Her eyes glistened. "Why?" "Because," he said, stepping closer, "from the moment I put my jacket on you, I didn't just want to cover your shame, I wanted to protect your light." Their eyes locked, breath mingling in the quiet. The city outside buzzed with life, but inside that room time seemed to pause. Then slowly, almost cautiously, Malik leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a grand movie kiss but a gentle, honest one, like two survivors exchanging a promise. Amara's heart pounded, her fingers trembling against his chest. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered, "So what happens now?" He smiled. "Now, we tell stories together. Real ones. And maybe write our own along the way." Weeks passed. The fellowship grew. Story seeds spread to schools across Nigeria and Ghana. And in every classroom where children listened to Amara's voice narrate stories of courage and kindness, a new generation learned that dignity is stronger than shame. But one quiet evening, as Amara locked up the office, her phone buzzed. A message appeared from an unknown number. "You think it's over?" Tobias wasn't the only one. "The real hand hasn't moved yet." Her breath caught. She turned toward the darkened hallway, but it was empty. Somewhere far away in a Manhattan penthouse, a woman in a tailored suit watched the fellowship's rising profile on her tablet. Her lips curved into a slow, cold smile. "It's time," she whispered. "They've had their spotlight long enough." Rain slid down the glass walls of the Amara Okoro Foundation headquarters. Inside, the mood was calm, but everyone sensed the tension that had started again like a low hum under the floorboards. Amara stood by the window watching the downpour blur the city lights. In the reflection she could see Malik across the office, speaking quietly on the phone. She couldn't hear the words but she could see the weight of them on his shoulders. When he ended the call he crossed to her. "It's confirmed," he said. "The message you got wasn't a bluff. Someone else has been pulling strings from New York. Her name's Cassandra Ward, Tobias's senior partner." Amara frowned. "The media investor?" "Yes." Tobias was only a front. "Cassandra runs the digital empire that funded half the gossip sites in the U.S. She saw our fellowship as a threat to her new media project." "So this was never personal?" Malik shook his head. "It became personal when she realized truth gets more attention than lies." They exchanged a quiet look. The rain softened, drumming a slower rhythm against the glass. "We can't fight her the same way we fought Tobias," Amara said. "If we keep responding, she'll keep creating storms. We need something that ends it for good." Malik nodded. "Then we changed the story ourselves." 2 weeks later, the Amara Okoro Fellowship held its first international summit, broadcast live from Lagos and streamed across 3 continents. The theme was the power of truth. Amara took the stage in a flowing navy dress, her natural curls framed by the light. She spoke not from a teleprompter but from her heart. "When I first stepped into a public room I wore white," she said, smiling slightly. "I wanted to be seen. What I didn't know was that visibility comes with risk. People will project their fears on you, twist your story, even weaponize your pain. But the lesson I learned is simple: truth doesn't shout. It stands." The hall was silent except for the sound of camera shutters. Malik followed her to the stage. "We started this fellowship to teach coding and storytelling, but what we've really built is a mirror. Every child who tells their own story learns that dignity is not given by the world, it's built inside." As the applause grew, screens behind them lit up with a surprise. Real-time connections from partner classrooms in Ghana, Kenya, Atlanta, and Maryland. Students waved from their schools holding handmade signs that read, "Thank you, Amara," and "We stand for truth." Even through the camera, it felt like healing. Thousands of miles away in New York, Cassandra Ward sat in her glass office watching the broadcast. Her assistant stood nearby, tablet in hand. "Do we release the second file, ma'am?" the assistant asked. Cassandra stared at the screen for a long moment. Amara's image glowed there, confident and calm, untouched by scandal. "No," Cassandra said finally. "They won." "Ma'am?" "Look at her," she murmured. Anything I drop now makes me look small. And small isn't profitable. She turned away, snapping her laptop shut. Close the file. Move on. For the first time in months, the shadow behind the scandal disappeared quietly. No noise, no revenge, just silence. Back in Lagos, the summit ended in music and laughter. Auntie Saad danced with the children, Adiz guarded the podium like a general, and Vivian, now working with a women's mentorship foundation, approached Amara nervously. "Can we talk?" Vivian asked. Amara hesitated, then nodded. Vivian's eyes were softer than before. "I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted to thank you. When you spoke about courage, I saw the woman I used to be before envy ate me alive. I've started counseling girls about dignity and online hate. I hope that counts for something." Amara smiled gently. "It counts." Vivian's eyes glistened. "You're a better woman than I ever was." "No," Amara said. "Just one who finally stopped hiding." They hugged briefly, a gesture not of friendship reborn but of bitterness released. That evening, as the lights dimmed and the crowd dispersed, Malik found Amara alone near the stage, her gaze lifted toward the night sky through the glass ceiling. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked. She smiled. "Just wondering how something that started with humiliation could end here." "Because you never let it end where it started," he said. "You turned it into a beginning." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Amara blinked. "Malik." He opened it. Inside was a simple gold band with a small diamond, elegant, understated, glowing like dawn light. "I don't need grand gestures or headlines," he said quietly. "I just need the woman who taught me that truth is louder than pride. Will you marry me?" For a moment everything stopped. The city noise outside faded. The reflection of the stage lights shimmered in her eyes like stars. She whispered, "Yes." The applause that followed came from the few who had seen. Auntie Saad gasped loudest, Adiz actually smiled, and the children nearby clapped without fully understanding why. Months later their wedding took place quietly in Lagos. No press, no fanfare, just family, friends and laughter. Amara walked down the aisle in an ivory gown embroidered with subtle red flowers, a nod to the night that had changed everything. Malik waited at the altar, eyes filled with quiet joy. When they exchanged vows he said simply, "You turned my world into something honest." And she replied, "You turned my shame into purpose." As they stepped into the sunlight, the crowd threw petals and prayers. Years later, a short documentary aired across African and American networks, "The Woman in White, From Stain to Strength." It told their story, not of scandal but of transformation. In the final scene, Amara stood in a schoolyard surrounded by laughing children, her voice narrating softly. "Some stories begin in pain. But if you keep walking through it, you'll find that pain has a doorway, one that opens into grace." The camera panned up toward the sky as the music swelled. And in that quiet, the woman who once bled in white had written her own legend, one not of pity but of power. Amara's story began with humiliation but ended in hope. What lesson did you take from her journey? Do you believe love and dignity can truly rise from pain? Comment below where you're watching from Globe Showing Europe Africa. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. For more powerful African tales that remind us, sometimes the stain that shames you is the ink that writes your destiny.